The Order is truly a secret society. It was founded in the United States at Yale University in 1833. It has continued and exists down to the present day. Each year, the Order takes in 15 men, senior students from Yale University. Never more than 15. Only once has it been less than 15. In 1946, they took in, I think, 10 rather than 15 members. So what we have is a secret society which, over the last 150 years, has accumulated about 2,500 members, of whom perhaps 500 are alive today. Of this 500, perhaps 100 are actively in pursuit of the objectives of the Order.
15 recruits, every year since 1833. And if this is real, it would explain why the world feels like it's accelerating. Like decisions are being made faster than people can react. Like we're being pulled towards something, and nobody voted for it. And maybe what we're seeing right now isn't the beginning of the story. Maybe it's the part where the system finally starts showing itself. Watch this.
It's not another college fraternal society. Yale University is the only university in the United States, or indeed the world, which has senior societies. These are societies where the 15 are selected in the junior year and actually are initiated at the beginning of the senior year. They stay on campus only 1 year as members. They are called knights. When they graduate, they leave the university, they go out into the world, then they're known as patriarchs. So at any one time, you only have 15 knights in existence, and for the rest of their lives, they're known as patriarchs. And they work during their lifetime, or a number do, towards the ends of the Order. They are pretty much guaranteed success. Certainly they're guaranteed financial success. And in my reading of the material I have, I infer that so long as they go along with the purposes of the Order, so long as they gear their careers and their lives towards certain ends, then they are guaranteed success.
And here's the unsettling part. If history really is being guided by pipelines like this, then what we're watching right now might not be random at all. It might be the last phase of something that's been running quietly for a long time. And the reason it's hard to see is because it doesn't feel like a takeover. It feels normal until you zoom out. This is Anthony Sutton, an economist and researcher who spent years digging into power networks. He was one of the few who got that far. But once he started exposing their entire system on live TV, it made powerful people pay attention. And let's just say they didn't exactly let it spread too far. Watch this.
Well, up to 6 months ago, I denied that there was a conspiracy, because frankly I couldn't prove one. I suspected a conspiracy, but I couldn't prove there was one until 6 months ago. Well, a little before 6 months ago, I received the catalog, which is the membership list of the society, all the way back to 1833, and I received some of their internal documents, enough for me to put together the way they correspond with each other, the operations within the Order, to some extent their problems.
If that's true, then we're not dealing with conspiracy talk. We're dealing with documentation. But even if you stay skeptical, and you should, what he describes next is something you can actually look up. A building on Yale's campus, with no windows, and a number that keeps showing up in the strangest places. 322.
The Order has a temple on the Yale campus.
A temple?
A temple, yes. It's a building maybe this 50, 60 feet by 40 feet, maybe 40 feet high. There's no windows, two big steel doors.
Okay, so pause. Because when most people hear secret society, they picture something vague, a rumor, a name, a symbol on the internet. But a temple is different. And what he's describing isn't subtle either. It's not a hidden room somewhere. It's a building on campus, with no windows and steel doors. Look, we can debate the bigger story later, but this This building is real. Watch this.
We know what the temple looks like because back in 1880s, a number of Yale students became a little unhappy about what was going on inside this temple. When they went by it at midnight, sometimes they heard strange noises and all kinds of rumors on the Yale campus as to what this might be. There was a break-in. I call it the Yale Gate. There was a break-in to the temple, and the students who broke in cataloged what they found.
This is where it gets weird, because you know how these stories usually go, right? It's always people say, or some believe, but he's claiming something more specific. He's saying there was a moment, way back, where the secrecy cracked. Students broke in, and according to him, they left with documentation. And what they found inside had numbers on the walls.
And they made a drawing, a design of the interior of the temple. And 3 of the rooms are numbered. One is 322, one is 323, and one is 324. 322 is also, I suspect, the chapter number.
And then he drops a number, 322. And this is where the story shifts again, because numbers don't work like symbols do. A symbol can be interpreted 100 ways, but a number usually points to something specific. And what he says next is the part that really stuck with me, because it implies that 322 isn't just written on a wall, it's used as a signature, as if it's a quiet way of saying, I'm one of you.
322 is an identification. Also in correspondence between members, they conclude their correspondence where you and I would conclude yours truly or yours sincerely. They conclude yours in 322.
And this is where the name most people recognize finally enters the story, because the order isn't how the internet knows it. It's known by something much simpler, something that sounds almost childish, until you realize how long it's been attached to real power. Skull and bones. And the number that keeps following it, 322. Now this is the part people usually skip past, because it gets uncomfortable. But it's also the part that explains everything. Watch this.
This is a symbol of death. Now why would they take a symbol of death?
Yes, from what I understand, when a new member is initiated, that would be in the senior year at Yale, he's placed within a coffin.
Oh my.
And from the photographs we have of members inside the temple, many of these photographs are the 15s sitting around a table, and they have this skull and the crossbones sitting on the table in front of them. It is the symbol of death, and it has been called the Brotherhood of Death, and I think it probably more adequately should be called the Brotherhood of Death.
Okay, this is where my brain stopped treating this like a rumor, because up until now, everything could still be explained away. But this is the first detail that feels deliberate, like it's designed to do something to you. And when you see rituals like this show up inside a closed network, you start asking a different question. Not, is it real, but what is it for?
Look at the history, the biographies of the leading members of the order, and reconstruct their career, and see if there's a common pattern in their careers. But to come back to my point, I have to reconstruct the objectives. What are the objectives? In the words of one member, might is right. If you have the power, you use it to achieve your objectives. What is the objective? As you look at the histories of individual members, it can only be one thing: to acquire power, to keep power, to use power for their own purposes.
There it is. That's the engine underneath all the imagery. Power. Acquire it, keep it, use it. And this is where the story starts tightening up. Because now the ritual makes sense. The temple makes sense. The code makes sense. It's not there to look spooky. It's there to create a machine, a pipeline, a loyalty structure, a network that moves people upward and keeps them aligned.
For example, Averell Harriman is a very influential member of the order. Harriman was initiated in 1913. His club number is D111. All the other 14 of D111 have died off. Averell Harriman is the only one left. To come to the other part of your question, who are some of the significant members? Today, 2 men stand out. One is Averell Harriman, who is the I suppose, the chief financial angel of the Democratic Party. The other is Vice President George Herbert Walker Bush. The Bush family is quite prominent within the order. Now, if you go back in history a little, you'll find that George Bush's father, Prescott Sheldon Bush, was also a member of the order. He was a member of Brown Brothers Harriman, which is the Harriman private banking company. So today you've got two men who are supposedly in politics in opposition, Bush and Harriman, actually the members of the same secret society. And Bush's father was not only a member, he was a partner in the what was then Harriman and Company, which later became Brown Brothers Harriman. So behind the scenes, and this is something you don't see until you investigate it, people who appear to be in opposition politically or financially or industrially or in many ways are working together.
That's the moment where the story shifts. Because now it isn't just symbolism. It's a claim about alignment. About people who appear to be on opposite sides, moving through the same pipeline. And if that sounds impossible, he explains the method in one sentence.
The method they use is that of the Hegelian dialectic. Thesis played against antithesis leads to a synthesis. In other words, for Hegel, for history to make progress, you have to have conflict. And when you look at the key people in the order, you will find that they generate conflict. So Bush and Harriman politically are conflicting. Coffin and Buckley, although part of the same order, are in public conflicting with one another because conflict leads to the new synthesis.
In simple terms, it's conflict by design, one side against the other. And while everyone is trapped inside the fight, the outcome gets shaped somewhere else. If you've ever felt like the winning side changes, but the direction doesn't, this explains why. Now the question becomes, what's the point? Because if the conflict is engineered, then the outcome isn't random. And Sutton says the objective isn't just influence, it's bigger than money. He says it's a direction for the entire system. Watch this.
One can only deduce at this point from the operations of these men as individuals and working together. They want to acquire power above all. As you look at their actions, the political power is to bring about what they call which is a. But they use the Hegelian techniques, and we know enough about Hegel to know that not only does this mean the dialectic process, the creation of conflict, but it also means that individuals such as you and I, or anybody watching this program, will be cogs in the state, that we have no individual rights. Our rights for Hegel, individual rights for Hegel, come about through obedience to the state.
Sutton goes a lot further in this interview. He gets into history, institutions, even global events, and we obviously can't fit all of that into one video. Now, I'm not here to tell you what to believe. I'm just showing you another way to look at power. If this caught your attention, watch the full interview yourself, because sometimes the biggest signals aren't hidden. They're just never explained. And I'm genuinely curious, what part hit you the hardest? Tell me in the comments.